Shut up and sit down.
All right, man, and we're back.
Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, good evening. Or good night, wherever you are. Good morning.
As they said on the Truman Show, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and if I don't see you, good night.
I love that. So welcome back to Rose Zed. We're going to be talking about our favorite team of all time, Manchester United.
Woo!
For Nick.
Hell yeah.
I know you didn't want to talk about the Community Shield, but we kind of have to a little bit.
Well, to prolong my pain, if you wouldn't mind, I'd rather start with transfers.
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
That prolongs my pain for even longer. But the reason I wanted to talk about it is because there's been some very interesting transfer news.
Please.
So, I don't know if you remember last time we talked about Julian Alvarez to Atletico Madrid.
Yes.
So, there was also Conor Gallagher leaving Chelsea from
Right.
Atletico Madrid. So, that whole deal has almost blown up because of a guy called Samu Omorodian.
What did he do?
Well, Atletico Madrid couldn't afford the transfers. So if he doesn't leave Atletico Madrid, all of those transfers have been blown up.
Oh, shit. Oh, he was the guy who was supposed to go to Chelsea, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and then it's something... I remember that I saw that. Yeah.
So that one player has nearly blown up this whole event.
Wow.
So Julian Alvarez is signed. So he's left City, he's gone, which is kind of crazy in its own right because, I mean, I didn't think he was going to leave City. I mean, he's already got... What, he's got at least one Premier League, he's got a Champions League, he's got the World Cup, he's got the Copa America.
I mean, I guess he wants to have like a challenge, right?
I guess.
It's like...
and I think he wants to be number one, because he's never going to be number one with Erling Haaland.
Yeah, no.
So,
definitely not.
So he's gone, but Conor Gallagher is still sat in limbo. So if they don't sign him by... I think it was by the end of the day today, he was flying back to London, because he's not training. He's not training, he's not doing his meals or anything like that. So... But there's a potential that they might not even sign him by the end of the month.
And
so that's going to completely blow up in both directions.
Man.
So...
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. Chelsea causing problems as usual.
As usual, man. Yeah, I mean, it's...
So
every transfer window, it seems like there's some kind of a shit show with Chelsea, dude, all the time.
Yeah. Well, and especially because they just signed their, 17th player of the transfer window.
Yeah.
So,
and, I was looking through their roster, and it looks like they have a lot of attacking players.
Yeah, a lot. And there's rumours that they want to sign Victor Osimhen from Napoli. It's like, how many strikers do you need?
Yeah, come on. And then they want João.
Yeah.
João Felix. It's like, dude, how are you gonna make that a team?
Like, you literally can't.
I can't. Yeah. This isn't Football Manager. You can't just do a cool tactic and just win the whole league and just press simulation,
I think that's what Ted Bowley thinks he's doing. He's going to play Jackson Martinez at right back and João Felix at left back and just overload
the mentality attacking.
Yeah.
Come
Ultra
on,
attacking.
Dude.
So
that's actually I'll be curious to know if anybody at that level actually plays Football Manager or FIFA or something like that, and they get these ideas about what they they should or can do, and then they just want to do that at their clubs,
Well, I know Diogo Jota for Liverpool, he was addicted to FIFA or FC24 as it's now called,
right?
And he almost made it to the European Esports Championship because he's really good at it.
Wow.
But he couldn't do it because obviously he's playing every week for Liverpool.
Right.
So he couldn't go and travel to Germany to play.
Wow, I did not know that.
So yeah, he streams on Twitch, I'm pretty sure. Or at least he used to. I don't know if he still does.
Yeah, you know who streams on Twitch too is there's probably a bunch of professional soccer players that stream, but the one who sticks out for me was Chicharito.
Yeah,
he streams, dude, and
bless him.
Yeah, and he's just cussing all the time, and he doesn't give a shit. It's awesome, man. He's great.
See, I'd rather see that. Although hearing Chicharito swear would probably be the most hilarious thing.
Well, it's in Spanish,
but even still,
but it's great, dude. And it's funny too because he has a kind of he has that David Beckham effect where if you don't know what he sounds like and then you hear him, you're like, what?
What?
Why do you sound like that? That sounds weird.
Well, it's have you ever heard him speak in English?
Yeah.
He has a really weird Mancunian / Mexican accent.
Yeah, it's bizarre, but I love it. It's awesome.
So, but to bring us closer to home, because we do have to talk about the Charity Shield. So, another transfer close to my heart, David De Gea. Did you hear about this?
Fiorentina.
So I'm happy that he's gone to a club. Obviously, I would prefer him to come back to Manchester United.
Right.
But I'm happy that he's finally out of the desert.
Yeah, man. I hope that he gets some... I don't know if he signed for, I don't know what the details are, like if he's gonna be, number one goalkeeper or backup or whatever the case is. But if we get to see him a couple times during the season and see how he's doing, like that'd be really cool.
Absolutely, maybe fight for the Spain squad. Although at the minute with Spain winning everything, because they just won the gold medal, there's maybe not be a chance. But
yeah,
but I mean, it's good that he's finally out of that period of his life, because I'm sure that must have been difficult.
How many years was he in limbo? Get the mic a little closer to your face.
I think it was the end of last season, because that's when Onana came in.
Oh, okay. So it hasn't been that long.
It's not been that long, but still, for someone who's top of their game,
for sure,
to now be
it's
like
weird. Like, why do you think that he just? Yeah, I mean, you would think that even like, like some team would, like they know what he's capable of. Yeah, he needed the confidence. He needed some boosting. Yeah, like. Nobody picked him up. It was really weird.
Well, and especially in La Liga, because when he played for Atletico Madrid, he was untouchable. Right. He had 22 clean sheets the season before United picked him up. That's incredible.
That's insane.
So
that's more than half.
Yeah, yeah.
That's more than half the matches of the year. That's insane.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I think the Spanish style of play is much more suited for his goalkeeping ability. So I'm surprised that no Spanish clubs came and got him, but
picked him up. Yeah. Yeah. Do you also want to talk about the new transfers too that went to United?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Since it's been announced, so Matthias de Ligt and Nusser Mazraoui, I think is his first name. So from Bayern Munich. So I'm happy for both of those. I'm very sad. So in the other direction.
Oh, he's Moroccan.
In the other direction.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, him and if we keep Amrabat, we'll have a little Moroccan contingent, which will be good because of how well they've been doing. But I am quite sad to see Aaron Wan-Bissaka leave.
Yeah,
I think he was quite a disrespected player while he was at Manchester United. The Spider.
The Spider, man.
Yeah, especially if you look at some standout games. The PSG game where we came back to win in ridiculous circumstances. He pocketed Mbappe and Di Maria. And then the FA Cup final against City. He pocketed Doku and Haaland. And I think he gets a lot of disrespect for his position. He was prone to a mistake.
Right.
But aren't we all prone to
a mistake?
Also,
what's the... how old is he? Isn't he young?
It's only 26, 27, something like that. Because we only got him when he was 22.
Right.
So...
And where did he go?
To West Ham.
Oh, wow.
So West Ham has actually... sorry, it's a tangent, but has got quite an interesting transfer market. They've got Wan-Bissaka and they got Nicholas Füllkrug, the German hero from the World Cup.
Right.
So that's quite an interesting,
Yeah.
I think he's the perfect striker for West Ham. Big, strong, push people off the ball, no nonsense. He's not going to do a roulette, but he'll bully off a couple of defenders. And
why do you think that Manchester decided to let go of Bissaka?
I think it was to make space. I think that was the reason, because we were never going to get rid of Dalot because he's just been so good for us. Mm-hmm. And he's so creative going forwards. That's Wan-Bissaka's weakness, is attacking. Great defensively, but attacking he's right. So I think it was purely to make space. I think it was between him and Lindelof, and I think we need as many central defenders as we can after last season with all of our defenders getting injured.
Insane.
So yeah. So, but it's sad to see him go. But de Ligt, fantastic signing.
Incredible. I mean, I did not think that was going to even... Yeah. I didn't even know that was a thing. Yeah. Or a rumor or anything like that. It just happened out of nowhere.
Well, this is the crazy thing. If you look at... so every season, there's like a wish list that gets put out. And everyone's like, oh, these are the players that Manchester United are going to go for. We never get any of those players. Case in point, Wesley Sneijder. We've been trying to sign him since about 2004. He's been retired for about 10 years, and we're still trying to sign him. But this year, we went for Joshua Zirkzee, got him. Went for Lenny Yoro, got him. Went for Matthias de Ligt, got him. Went for Mazraoui, got him. The only one left is Ugarte from PSG. Right. And we've still got 3 weeks left of the transfer window.
That's a really good point. So I didn't have those two things click like that they were really going for those transfers like that, and they just got them. Yeah. Usually, you'll get like one, maybe two. Yeah. But they've gotten quite a bit. That's interesting.
Well, it's like if you look at last season with Højlund, like we had all these other players on our radar, and then we just about kicking and screaming got Rasmus Højlund and
Højlund
didn't get anyone else.
Højlund is a great player, man.
I love Højlund.
When United got him, I didn't really know anything about him, and then I didn't really see or watch a lot of the Premier League, to be honest, towards the end of the season. But I did see him in preseason, and dude, he's incredible. Like, he's fast. He's super fast, and I mean, he's super young too, so he's only going to get better.
The potential, especially with Ruud van Nistelrooy coming back to coach. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better shooting coach than Van Nistelrooy, really.
Dude. And he's gonna. I think that in the next coming years, hopefully, maybe this season, he can really do like something incredible and be really impactful.
I hope so. He is injured at the minute.
Yeah,
your lot. Arsenal bloody injured him in that preseason game. So hopefully when he comes back in September, he'll just, full force just hit the ground running.
What is his injury?
I don't know, but I don't think it's too serious because it's a couple of months. It's not like Lenny Yoro. He's going to be out until like December.
Yeah, that's sucks.
So yeah, he played.
I understand that because it's like when Arsenal bought what's that left back defender's name? God damn it,
Zinchenko.
No, I forgot his name. He's Dutch.
Dutch.
Here, we can just look this up.
Dutch.
I'm gonna cut this right here too, by the way, so that way it doesn't. Jurrien Timber.
Oh my God! I didn't realize he'd gone to Arsenal. Was that last year?
That was last year. He went to Arsenal, and I think within like the first couple games, he got injured, and he was out for the entire season.
Oh my God!
He just came back.
About him.
Yeah, he just came back.
Jesus Christ!
And he's incredible, man. I saw him in preseason, and he's like a powerhouse when he comes up, when he goes up forward, and insane. Yeah. And but he currently has a little like something going on with his foot, so he's not playing right now. But I understand what you mean by like it just sucks that you get a new signing and they just get injured, and it's just unfortunate.
Well, speaking of Arsenal's defense, I mean, Ben White, William Saliba, Gabriel, Jurrien Timber, this new Calafiori lad. Arsenal's got a bloody good defense.
They really do, man. It's incredible.
And not to say that the rest of the team isn't good with like Kai Havertz and everything, but the defense is solid.
Very solid.
If you can sort out the goalkeeping situation between Raya and Ramsdale, I think that'll sort out
with Ramsdale. I think that is he going to stay? Is he going to go?
I would have thought he'd go.
Me too. I think that he's still a little green. Honestly, I think that he still makes like a little bit of mistakes, but he's good enough to be, I think, in the Premier League team at least.
Yeah, 100%.
As a starting keeper.
I could see him going to somewhere like Brighton or Newcastle or somewhere like that, and putting in a shift with one of them.
Right.
So,
anyways, let's talk about the game. Yeah. What did you think?
So, unfortunately, I couldn't watch it because it was region locked in Las Vegas.
Oh God.
I don't know why, because we're nowhere near Manchester, but it was region locked in Las Vegas. So I had to listen to it through the radio. But I have watched the highlights, and I think that for the first 10 minutes, Manchester United were in control. For the next 35 minutes, Manchester City were all over us.
Yeah.
And then in the second half, Manchester United, it just clicked. Like, we were playing so well together.
Dude, really well. That's why, even though you guys lost and it sucked, I was thinking, like, okay, this is, a bummer, but also the good thing is that fact that they were playing, like, incredible. Yeah. Like, they were having an identity. Like, they were really getting it together. Like, it looked like there's something was really happening.
Yeah. Some of those passing moves and some of the set pieces. Like, I know it's a silly thing to bring up, but last season, whenever we won a corner, it was just like, oh, well, it's not like we're going to do anything with this one. Whereas this year, it's like, whoo, we could be dangerous with this,
Absolutely, man. Yeah, it was really refreshing to see that.
Yeah.
Then rather than, like, seeing United before, just kind of, like, I don't know, like they felt like they were kind of like just trying to do their individual plays, and now it's like really clicking together.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's really cool to see that because I feel like with all these like new players that are coming in, especially with Ten Hag, like him being from the Dutch, mindset of like that type of style of play, it's kind of cool to see that happening now and clicking together.
Well, and that's with the new signings that we've got. It's like that Ajax team that was so great, that Ten Hag Ajax team.
Yeah.
Because we've got Martinez, we've got De Ligt, and we've got Mazraoui, who were all there during that season of greatness. So, I'm not saying that we need to rebuild Ajax, but we're kind of going in that direction,
Yeah.
So, and that team was the best part of that Ajax team was the free-flowing, nature. It was constantly changing in the passing and the attacking.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping for this season.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see how United goes about doing that in the Prem, right? Because the Prem can be harsh when it comes to teams like that, I feel like. You make one mistake and it's this counterattack goal.
Yeah.
The players are that good.
Yeah.
No matter what team you're playing, honestly.
Yeah. Well, that's, I think, the hardest thing for Manchester United, and I hope that we've figured this out, is we can't play against teams that sit back.
Right.
We need a team to come towards us and sort of play into the space. And I'm hoping that this year, because against Burnley or West Ham or, Watford, a team that just lets you play your football, we're just well, what are you doing? You're not coming towards us. What are we supposed to do now?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's... would you say that Manchester United struggles more with the mid-block, low-block, or both?
I would say low, personally.
Yeah.
I think you could make an argument for both, but I think the worst is the low, for sure. Yeah.
It's difficult. I mean, that's one of the things that Pep, Pep and Mikel have always had difficulties now, even more so, that they're trying to break down these teams. And the good thing, at least for the Arsenal team, is that they've figured out that, hey, we have set pieces.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
hopefully United could maybe use some of that, set pieces things that they were doing in the Shield that could really be impactful this season.
When set pieces, and the other thing is Garnacho and Amad Diallo, because their pace and just dynamism. I know Amad Diallo didn't score, but when he was taken off, he was man of the match. If you looked at the rating, he had the highest rating of anyone on the field. So you've got him on one side, you've got Garnacho on the other side, and then when Haaland comes back, or even Joshua Zirkzee, there's so much pace and youth and just.
It's gonna be a really fast team.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Honestly, I feel like if Manchester plays Man City in the league and everybody's fit, if they're able to counter and get some kind of a couple of link passes, I think they can really score.
Yeah,
pretty easily. Well, I shouldn't say pretty easily, but at least they have a pretty big chance of scoring just of how much pace that they have in up front.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with Manchester City, I think the big problem they're going to have this season, and this is something that, Guardiola usually finds a way to figure it out, but I noticed it in the preseason games I've seen of theirs, and I noticed it in the Charity Shield. They were very arrogant.
Right.
And I know it was Charity Shield and I know it's preseason, but they were just... they thought that they were, the best in the world. And if you come up against, an Ipswich that has nothing to lose,
right,
then they'll be like, okay,
I love that.
All right, let's fucking go for it.
I love that, dude. I love the fact that in the at least, probably in a lot of leagues. I don't really watch a lot of leagues in general, but it's cool to know that in the Premier League, it's you got to win against the big six and stuff, and in the mid-table teams. But sometimes those bottom table teams, dude, they'll sneak in a couple goals on you, and you're like, what the fuck?
Absolutely.
We're 1-0 down, 2-0 down, 2-1 or whatever. It can get pretty dicey. So yeah.
Well, it's Manchester United. Our first game of the season is this Friday, and we're playing Fulham. Now, Fulham, it's Fulham,
Right.
Nothing to write home about. They're not going to win the Champions League or anything like that. But
they have a great squad.
They have a great squad.
They really do, man.
So every game is still, with the exception of, I know they went down, but if Sheffield United was still in the league, with the exception of Sheffield United, every game, is a potentially dangerous, stumbling block for any team.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, I think that I don't remember who they played, but I saw that West Ham was playing, Fulham was playing a preseason game, and they won 2-1. I believe, or something like that. But Emile Smith-Rowe was playing, and man, he looks great. I mean, I'm not just saying that because I'm an Arsenal fan and he was at Arsenal, but like it's really good to see him actually having the time and the minutes to really do something. Just because at Arsenal, it felt like, he was like second,
Yeah. Well, and that injury didn't do him any favors.
Absolutely.
He lost his spot.
Yeah, he really did. And it was hard for him to get back. But seeing him play like that, I'm like, dude, like he's incredible.
Well, I can tell you, so they beat Benfica earlier in the month. They did lose to Sevilla, but they only lost 2-1, and Sevilla are a very handy side.
Oh, okay.
But then they beat Hoffenheim.
That's what it was. What was that? What was that scoreline? 2-1?
That was 2-0.
Or 2-0.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the one I saw. Yeah,
yeah,
they played well.
Yeah,
they played really well actually. So yeah, a lot of these Premier League teams, man, they're getting the fucking crazy squads.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
and that's the thing. At the end of the day, you don't need to have the biggest names. It's how the team plays together. Absolutely, and you can see that with the Leicester team that won the Premier League. They were a bunch of misfits.
Dude.
They were the second string to the... I mean, even Claudio Ranieri, couldn't string a win together for his previous, 6 jobs.
Yeah.
And then he comes to Leicester, and he's got that little band of misfits from the second division and, whatever. Jamie Vardy on his chewing tobacco and his 6 Red Bulls. And there you go. You had the team spirit. You had, everyone was fighting for each other.
How is there not like a movie... or like an actual documentary, because there is one online that they did, but it's like 20 minutes long, 30 minutes long. You can't summarize all that happened in
100%
in that little time. And,
it needs to be at least like a series, because you'd have to have like the times before with what was his name, Nigel Pearson, I think was his name, the previous manager, and like how they nearly went down, and the last day of the season they stayed up, and then the rebuild.
Which
over
that
the
was
summer.
crazy.
Yeah. That was,
because a lot of the players in that documentary I saw were talking about how like it felt like they won the Prem.
Yeah,
It's like, dude, that's crazy.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah, it really does need a show, man. I feel like not only is it great to like have like a cool underdog story, but just the fact that it's not all about money.
No,
it's
absolutely.
It's not. It doesn't have to always be about like the best player, the best manager. Like it's cool to know that with some people that really want it, some people that understand what their players are, some people that understand what it is that it takes, that mentality and just like that drive and that ambition, you can do what is very unlikely.
Absolutely.
Extremely unlikely.
Absolutely.
And they fucking did it, and it was incredible.
And that's why I'd rather have that, the system built up, rather than just buying everyone and their mum, putting them on a team and just being like, okay, go and do it.
Yes.
Like, that's why I actually have quite a bit of respect for Mikel Arteta, because, I mean, he probably couldn't have gone out and bought Mbappe, but, he didn't just go and spend money willy-nilly.
Yeah.
And he went and actually built up a system, and it wasn't working for a little bit, but then he gave it its time and is now bearing the fruits of his labor. And, that's the way that you should do it.
I love that.
So, and that's why I hope that that's what Manchester United will do,
Yeah.
Instead of, as much as I love our boy Zlatan, we can't just put a team of 11 Zlatans out there and expect to build a dynasty. It's not going to work.
Yeah, man, I agree. I feel like these teams are caught up in this whole like, we need to buy the best players because they're the best, and also because of the revenue that they're going to get from selling their merchandise and like their rights in the image or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
And at the end of the day, I mean, for example, right? A lot of the Manchester City players, when Pep was buying a lot of them, like they're not like the biggest, they weren't like these like Mbappe, Neymar names or Messi names. They were good players, but they weren't like, for example, Julian Alvarez cost them like 17 mil.
Yeah,
right.
Well, that's true. I think there's sort of a Jekyll and Hyde to Manchester City.
Yeah,
because with their squad players, they do a lot of like getting Julian Alvarez, getting Calvin Phillips, getting those sorts of players. But then they'll go and buy a Haaland, or go and buy an Edison, or go and buy a Bernardo Silva, where, they might not be Mbappe, but I mean, Erling Haaland was in that same bracket when they bought. And I know that's just a one player. Kevin De Bruyne, when he went from Wolfsburg, he wasn't in that category. However, he was also being chased by Real Madrid, Barcelona, everyone under the sun. So I think it's also a lot easier to do that when you do have the money to buy 20 youngsters instead of buying 3 youngsters.
For sure.
So
I get what you're saying. Like it's like they sprinkle in like these big ass names.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying.
So yeah, it's a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde, and I think it's not as bad as when he was at Barcelona. Because at Barcelona, yes, he brought Messi through the academy. I can't deny that. But they bought Etu, they brought Henry, they bought Zlatan. They were becoming Real Madrid and just buy.
What was the right back? Dani Alves.
They bought, exactly. Rakitic, absolutely. They would just spend.
And then what was that? The once Zlatan left, what was the guy? David Villa.
Right? Yeah. Well, as soon as anyone became good, they almost did the Bayern Munich thing that they do in the Bundesliga. As soon as someone became good in La Liga, thank you very much, we'll be taking you.
Yeah.
Like Bayern does in the Bundesliga,
Yeah, because the season before, David Villa was like on fire.
Yeah,
the dude was
absolutely.
insane.
100%.
And he was like the perfect player for Pep. Like he's like Spanish, Spanish football, Spanish mentality. So it was
could play up top, could play on the wing. Versatile,
incredible. So
but
I think that it's a good thing that we have these examples like Leicester, or like you were saying, like Arsenal, that buy players that they can build off of rather than just like buy already made names, that are kind of cost like. So, dude, the amount of money that is being spent on these fucking players are insane, bro.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I get it, but also like I don't.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I know my stepdad, who he was watching it in like the 60s and 70s. He'd tell me about like the world record transfer fee of like £100,000.
Right.
And back then that was like, you can't spend £100,000. How can you possibly do that? And now, or like when Robin van Persie went to United from Arsenal, and they were like 30 million.
Right.
30 million. You can't do that. And we just got a delict for like 65 million. And Julian Alvarez went to Atletico Madrid for nearly 70 million.
Dude, that's
insane. Mbappe went to Real Madrid for bloody 560 or whatever billion, trillion, however much it was. I don't know. This is a bloody ridiculous amount of money, whatever it was.
I was about to ask you for that. I was like, wait, was it that much? Yeah, it was a lot. It's I don't know.
I think it was around the 180 to 200.
Almost 200, yeah.
I think that's what it was. It's difficult to say because, you see contrasting reports because it's in euros in one article, it's in pounds in another, it's in dollars in another, so...
I really think that we've gotten to the point where players are no longer going to be that much. I think that we finally reached the very top of like how much a player can actually cost.
It has to stop at some point.
Yeah.
And I think the big decider will be what happens with Manchester City with their financial fair play.
Right.
When that decision comes out, that will be the decider of what the future is for transfer fees this much.
Man.
Because it can't keep happening like this. And it's like in other sports, especially American sports, like not so much in American football because it's mostly about the draft, but like American football, baseball, where they had to put a cap on it because, like the Yankees would just come in and be the Real Madrid and just buy everyone. And I think it has to happen at some point because it's untenable.
Honestly, yeah.
Because otherwise you can't. There's no point in having a league. You might as well go to the Super League and just let everyone else duke it out somewhere else because they're not going to be able to compete. So.
Do you like what the Premier League's doing now with what they? If you sell players, you can go green and you can buy more or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's how it should be.
Right.
I think you can only spend as much as you've got, but you can't. You can't do like Barcelona, where we're going to sell our streaming rights to get 25 million and we're going to sell the women's team. No, what are you doing? You can't do that. That's just silly.
Dude, Barca is barely floating right now.
Yeah,
they've
absolutely.
been like that for years now.
Yeah. And it's crazy because when I first started watching them, they were sponsored by UNICEF.
Yeah.
A charity.
Yes.
And now not only are they not sponsored by a charity, they're the really opposite of a charity, which is, I think it's Fly Emirates, isn't it? Or
I don't remember.
one of the airlines, or Qatar Airways. That's what it is. And
I thought it was Spotify. Wasn't it Spotify?
Oh, it might be Spotify now.
A couple years ago.
Oh yeah, it was Spotify because there was that thing where if Shakira got to number one, Gerard Piqué would have to wear Shakira on his shirt.
I might be wrong though. I do remember seeing Spotify that on their shirt.
So it might have been the season before where it was Qatar Airways.
You know what I don't understand about Barca is that they're like in debt and they have all these problems with financial stuff. Like, what do they do? You know what I mean? Like they have nothing to show for it.
Yeah, well, it's all about prestige. It's prestige and power.
And even the players that they bought in, I'm like, who the?
Well, they're hoping that Lewandowski's
why?
going to last until he's about 100. I think that's the play. It's like,
I mean, I hope so, man. He's a great manager.
Yeah.
Or wait, sorry,
great player, Lewandowski. The player,
Lewandowski. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about the manager. What was his name?
Xavi.
No, the new guy.
Who is the new guy?
He's the German guy. He used to be the coach for Germany.
Hansi Flick, isn't it?
Flick, dude, yeah.
I'm not so sure about that one. No disrespect to Hansi Flick, but I have a friend who's a Bayern Munich fan, so I pay attention to Bayern Munich. His reign at Bayern Munich wasn't the best.
Yeah.
Because it was between Pep and Nagelsmann, and it wasn't a glittering time, let's just put it that way. They still won the Bundesliga, but they always won the Bundesliga. So, that's not really a benchmark.
Except when Kane's there,
Yeah, exactly. The Tottenham curse outweighs the the Koeman curse. So I don't think that's a good move for them. I think they'll still perform because their league has like 4 good teams in it. But I don't think it's going to be to the same level,
Yeah, man. I don't know.
Just
Barca has just been mismanaged in so many aspects after Pep left. Like, just like they were bringing in these players and giving them some crazy fucking salaries, and it's like who are these fucking players? Like you're spending this much money on like who the fuck is that? Like I don't understand that.
Yeah.
And then there's nothing to show for it. Like at least City is they're dominating.
Yeah.
And they're spending this fucking ungodly amount of money, but so is Madrid.
Yep.
Spending like this fucking crazy amount of money
on Mbappe.
Yeah, on just one player.
Yeah. Then you've got the PSG experiment, which has collapsed.
Absolutely. Like, that's a great example as to, money doesn't just buy you titles. It's not just about the money. You got to have all the right components. And
well, I mean, in their heyday of having all of their players, even Manchester United with like 17 injured players and Scott McTominay playing left back, and we still managed to knock them out in Paris.
I mean, that is just poetry, man.
Yeah.
That is just poetry.
Yeah.
I
think another team that's going to struggle this year is Liverpool, personally.
Yeah, I can see that.
Don't think they've brought any players in. So that's... like,
they were going to get Zubamendi from... Atletico...
No, Sociedad.
Sociedad, yeah.
Hasn't he just signed a contract extension? Yeah.
And so he wanted to stay. I don't know what the details are behind that, but yeah, they haven't signed anybody.
Haven't signed it. And this new manager... I've forgotten his name. Yeah. I don't know. Not to say that he's unproven, because wasn't he the Feyenoord manager last year that won the Eredivisie?
Yes.
So not that he's unproven, but I don't know. He's got a big baseball cap to fill with Jurgen Klopp leaving. Like,
that's hilarious. No, he really does. I think that here's the thing, right? It's like the Prem is such a big league in terms of just how how many people watch it and how many people actually pay attention to what teams if you're not in England. That like I don't know any of these other managers, you know what I mean? So it's like they're getting like this Arne Slot guy and fucking even before Manchester United signed what's his name? The manager, right? What's his name?
Ten Hag.
Ten Hag. Yeah. I'm like, who the fuck is
He's
that?
Ten Hag, yeah.
And I don't know. Maybe also I want to say that I think I said this in the last pod too. Is that like I haven't been involved in the football world in a pretty long time, so I'm just now getting back into it. So please I do apologize for the ignorance.
That's right. I'll teach you the way. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I unfortunately know way too much about football.
No, man, I think it's great, man. So. I get it. Like, I love it. And what's funny is that almost every summer I get back into it.
Yeah.
Because, like all the transfer talks and like...
Especially if there's a World Cup or a Euros or something.
Absolutely. Like, yeah, absolutely. And so, but this since I believe October and on, I've just been like all about, football and stuff. And but anyways, yeah. Do you want to talk about some of the people some of the players that played for the Community Shield?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I think I've already mentioned his name. The big standout was Amad Diallo.
Right.
He's just such a great player, and I'm so glad that we're giving him the minutes that he deserves. Poor Anthony, but I think Amad needs to be the starting winger,
Anthony
in my opinion.
Is one of a kind.
He's like Haaland, who can't, not Haaland, Robin that can't shoot.
Right.
Because he does a spin, cuts inside, but then can't finish. At least Robin could finish. You knew what he was going to do.
Yeah, man.
But you couldn't stop him.
I don't know. It kind of sucks that he's not really performing at all.
Well, it's like last season. This one just gone. He didn't score until April.
Right.
He didn't score a single goal until April. And he was the starting right winger.
Yes.
That's terrible. I know Manchester United weren't doing well. But, like, come on.
What do you think Ferguson would have done with him?
He would have shipped him out before the end of the season. In all honesty, so
also Maguire out.
Yeah, I've got to put some respect on my boy.
I think Ferguson would have.
Well, I think if Slab had played for Alex Ferguson, I don't think he would make as many mistakes as he does. Right. Because I think his mentality would be better.
That's a good point. Yeah.
I think the trouble with dear old Slabhead is when he was brought in and made captain. It went straight to his head.
You think so?
Straight to that and the transfer fee, because he came in for £80 million.
Yes.
He was the highest English transfer in history until Jude Bellingham. That tells you the level of transfer we're talking about. How much was Jude? Well, it was Real Madrid, so probably like 150 million. No, I don't think it was that much. I think it was like 90, 95, something like that. Yeah. Which for an English player is still a lot of money. And so Maguire's good. He needs someone competent next to him. Mm-hmm. And hopefully playing next to someone like Martinez. Please don't get injured as much as you did last year. But because Martinez won't take any shit from Maguire. Like when you saw them playing last time, he just kept shouting at him because he was out of position.
Right.
That's what he needs. He needs someone to shout at him and tell him to get in position. I think the best thing Ten Hag could have done is strip him of the captaincy, bring him down a couple of levels.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I don't remember the last time I saw him make a mistake. Not that we won every game that he played in. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying it wasn't necessarily his error that caused the goal, whereas it used to always be his error. Like there were compilations on YouTube of the mistakes that Harry Maguire was making in a season, and it was just brutal to watch them. Man. So, yeah, I think he's not the best centre back in the world, but you could see how much he was missed in England this summer because we didn't have that threat going forwards from defence. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to get you into get into the tangent of Maguire.
Well, I think to compare Harry Maguire to something, he's like Nickelback. Everyone hates Nickelback. Everyone hates Harry Maguire. I actually quite like Nickelback. I actually quite like Harry Maguire, so I've got to defend both of them when it gets brought up. So it's one of those subjects. So,
what did you think of Casemiro in this game?
So I thought Casemiro did well. I think this is one of the better games I've seen from him recently. Mm-hmm. He was so out of steam at the end of last season. I mean, I know he was playing centre-back, but...
He just seemed like just deflated, right?
The Crystal Palace game, where we lost 4-0, 3 of those goals were because they ran past Casemiro.
Yeah.
And I just think... A great player to have in the squad. Mm-hmm. I don't think he should be starting every game, personally. I think, another player that gets a lot of hate for Manchester United is Scotty McTominay. Mm-hmm. Again, I don't understand why, but I think he should be starting because he's younger, he's got more energy, And then if we need to kill off a game, sure.
How
bring on
old
Casemiro.
is Casemiro?
32.
Okay,
So
I mean, he's up there, but he's not like,
He's not dead. He's not 37.
Yeah, he's not super old.
But he's getting to that point, and I think it could have been the change of playing in the Premier League, because it is a much more physically demanding league than La Liga.
Yeah.
It just that's not bad mouthing La Liga. It's just the case.
When you say physically, are you talking about like the pace, or are you talking about like the actual physicality of like player on player?
Bit of everything, because if you look at La Liga, it's more about the build up. There's a lot of passing, and you take your time, and then you build up. Not to say that wingers aren't important, because look at Vinicius Jr. and what's the other Brazilian on the other side? For
Rodrigo.
Rodrigo.
Yeah.
Very pacey wingers that do a lot of damage, but it's all about the work around the setup, wear your opponent down and then wait for an opportunity. Whereas in England, straight from kickoff, what's the first thing that happens?
Right.
The ball goes back to the goalkeeper and it goes straight over the top to the other side.
I see what you're saying. It's so much more pace. You have to be like focused the entire game.
Yeah,
absolutely. There's no like kind of break.
Absolutely,
like
100%.
You're active at all times.
100%.
Yeah,
and it's a very similar league to the Bundesliga, except the Bundesliga is more about the physicality than the pace.
Right.
So it's sort of a mashup of the Bundesliga and La Liga.
Okay.
And that's why it's so hard for some players to come over and perform, because they just don't know what's going on. They're like, what the hell just happened?
Right.
That guy just ran past me and I don't even know who he is.
What did you think of? Did Fernandes actually play up as a striker?
He did. So I think the way that it was set up was sort of a false nine. I think he was more of the inside centre forward, spraying the balls out to Garnacho and Diallo. So I don't know why Xerxes wasn't playing. I think it's because he hasn't been registered yet, or something like that, because he was on the bench. Or maybe they didn't want to chance it, in such a big game, for his debut. So, yeah, I think he did well up front. I think a lot of the game Rashford was also up front as well. So I think that helped. I think he was sort of pivoting with Rashford.
Yeah.
So I think one player that I need to see more from this season, and I really hope I will, again, if he's not bloody injured, is Mason Mount.
Right.
I need to see more from Mason Mount. Not that he had a bad season, because he only played like 5% of it because he was injured. And the first game he came back, he scored a goal. So,
that's awesome.
He made a contribution.
Yeah.
But, it's his time to show why he's got number 7. Late 20s? He's not very old, I don't think.
Early 20s?
Mid to late 20s,
okay.
I think, yeah.
Well, let's send some prayers, dude.
Yeah, come on. Some like
the football prayers,
right?
You gotta pray them out.
Absolutely, because I mean, in preseason we've already got bloody 3 injuries.
Yeah.
So it's in bloody preseason,
dude. That's
so
unfortunate, man.
Yeah.
I really like Mainu.
Oh, I love Kobbie Mainoo.
Dude, he's incredible.
My home shirt just shipped today. It's got Kobbie Mainoo on the back.
Oh my god. You got like from the website. You got it from like the actual Manchester
my
United?
family sending it over from England.
That's awesome,
yeah.
man.
So yeah, I'm just waiting for that to come in. Unfortunately, it won't be here for the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
But it means I get to wear my Garnacho shirt. So
yeah. Speaking of Garnacho, I'm a big fan of him.
I love Garnacho.
He's great.
Yeah.
He's cocky. He's arrogant. Yeah. He's good looking. He doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like he scores goals.
Yeah.
Like the dude is just like a cool guy.
Yeah.
You know.
But then off the pitch, he's so quiet.
Really?
You don't hear anything about him. He doesn't. There's no like scandal or
he's
anything.
He's not going
like
out
that.
doing some crazy shit.
Yeah.
Right.
He's just. And I think so. As I'm sure you've seen, every one of his celebrations is Cristiano Ronaldo.
Oh yeah, he
which
loves him, man.
Pisses off Argentina fans to no end.
Right.
So I think he's trying to, replicate Ronaldo in that period of when they were similar ages. So hopefully this will be. I mean, I can't say his breakout season because last season was his breakout season, but hopefully this season will be the one where he just
goes for it,
goes full force.
I mean, what a great example of a player to model yourself off.
Oh,
of,
100%.
Right? It's like
100%.
You want to be great. This is a great. I want to be like him. Like I'm gonna try to do what he did.
Absolutely.
It's like, dude, like
When between he played with Ronaldo for a season, maybe not quite a season because that was when that whole thing was going on. But then he also played with Messi, for the Argentinian national team. So he's got both of them, as reference points. And as far as, what his ceiling is, which is unlimited.
Honestly, I feel like he can really become something incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very excited to see him. Another player that I think, unfortunately, I don't know if he'll be at Manchester United much longer because he's not getting the playing time, is Facundo Pellistri. Mm-hmm. So he's Uruguayan. He's a right winger.
I don't know him.
So he probably won't get much playing time because Diallo is 19 and Pellistri is 23. So, and that's what I mean with, I don't know how much longer he'll be here because he's already getting to that point in his career where he wants to go somewhere and be top dog.
Yeah.
But he's not making a fuss. It's not like he's, causing friction or anything. But I think he might, maybe in January or the end of next year.
Is he playing well?
Yeah, he actually played. He came on in the Charity Shield and did well. He caused a bit of chaos. So
interesting.
He played for Uruguay in the Copa America.
Cool.
So he is a really good player.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that United haven't had for many years is options.
Yeah.
We haven't had options. Like, even last season, who did we have up front when Højlund got injured?
Dude.
I don't know. Let's just figure it out because we don't have any other strikers. Who's our other striker? Oh, it's Anthony Martial. Oh, shit, he's injured as well.
I mean, what position do you guys get at the end of the season?
So we've got another striker. We've got Xerxes.
No, what was the Premier League position you guys?
Oh,
had
I
last
see.
Season?
Oh, that's a good question.
I
think it was seventh, either sixth or seventh. Because I think
are you guys in the Europa?
We're in Europa, but I think that's because of the FA Cup. Because
you guys won it.
The winner of the FA Cup also goes to Europe. So, but it pushes everyone down a level.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So, like, obviously the Champions League places stay in the Champions League, but it means that an extra team gets put into Europe.
Right.
And in this case, I think it was Manchester United.
Right.
But, for example, so in, 2008, there were 9 English teams that went to Europe because United won the league, which gave the league another spot. Mm-hmm. Then they won the FA Cup, which is another spot. Then they won the League Cup, which is another spot.
Holy shit.
So it just kept on going down and just kept on encompassing more and more players.
Right.
And that's when you had Fulham make it to the semi-finals of the Europa League. That's when you had
so cool.
Tottenham, make it to the final. You had Portsmouth make it to the quarterfinals of the Champions League.
Right.
I
love that stuff, man. I love when just those teams that you don't even know what their names are or where they're from.
Absolutely.
Just make it and you're like, what? You get to see all these players that you never seen before or heard about. It's really cool. I think there needs to be some more of that.
Yeah, agreed. I think it's because for example, this year the one to watch for me in the Champions League is going to be Girona from Spain. Mm-hmm. You've got the likes of Girona. I think, isn't it Aston Villa's in the Champions League as well?
I think Aston Villa. No, it was Man City, Arsenal.
Was it Liverpool?
Fuck, I don't remember.
So United finished in United finished in 8th.
8th, okay.
Let me see if I can pull up the full table. Okay. Oh, no, that's from this year. Okay, here we go. So it was City, Arsenal, Liverpool, and Aston Villa.
Yeah.
Spurs finished in 5th. So it's Tottenham and United are in the Europa League.
Got it.
So because it skips Chelsea and Newcastle.
What's your ambition with the Europa League?
Personally, obviously I'll take any
cool
silverware that I can take. Yeah, because that was the when Mourinho did the sort of rubbish treble where we got the Charity Shield, the League Cup, and the Europa League. But a treble's a treble. I will take a treble.
Dude, I don't care what anybody says. If any manager, any team wins more than one trophy, it's dude, clearly they're doing something right.
It's like with the Charity Shield. When United were up in the 86th minute, it was like, oh yeah, I can't believe we've got to win the Charity Shield. And then as soon as the penalty shootout finished, it was like, oh, it's only the fucking Charity Shield.
It's like, whatever.
Within 10 minutes, it was complete and utter night and day.
Yeah.
But the danger with the Europa League is the Thursday fixtures. That's where it becomes dangerous because you've got say you've got a Sunday fixture, Thursday fixture, Sunday fixture. It starts getting congested, especially when you start putting in the FA Cup and the League Cup.
That's a lot.
So yeah, it starts getting dangerous. So I think personally, the Europa League, especially, no disrespect to the smaller teams, but when the smaller teams are still in it, like in the group stages and stuff, chance to put the academy players in.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
So, like,
how well do you know your? Sorry, go ahead.
Toby Collier is
Yeah.
one of them. I was just trying to see his first name. I couldn't remember his first name. Toby Collier is a perfect example. You know, put Pellistri in.
Right.
You know, Pellistri, you're starting right wing. You know, put Anthony in. It'll keep him quiet for a little bit. You know, put Jadon Sancho in because we got Jadon Sancho back. You know, so we can field a decent second team.
What did you think about Sancho playing?
I think he needs a bit of time to get used to being in the Premier League again. But I think he's doing all right.
Such a weird case. Like, he does so well in Germany. Like, so good. And then he comes to United and it's like, what happened?
Well, this thing is, so he had that little patch before him and Ten Hag had their little argument where, like, he was actually doing quite well. He came back from his retreat and he was, like, refreshed and everything, and he was scoring or assisting every other game. So he was doing quite well. It just all went downhill for some reason. I don't know what it is. So, you know,
maybe he just, like, becomes a bad boy in England.
Maybe.
You know?
Maybe.
He just, like, because he's from England, right?
He's English, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe he just has too many friends and they're just, like, pulling him into
bad influences,
bad
maybe.
influences,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I don't know. I'm just
maybe
speculating.
You never
I have
know.
no idea.
Hanging out with gangsters.
Yeah, he's just doing just bad shit, dude.
Yeah. I think.
How well do you know United's like their youth academy or any of their young players?
So we've got some good players coming through. So I mentioned Toby Collier.
Yeah.
There's also, I'm just trying to see if I can see him. His last name's Amas, I think. He's a left back. He wasn't on the bench for this game.
Okay.
But he did really well in pre-season.
How old is he?
He's like 17, 18.
Oh, okay. Super young.
And then the other one, Will Fish. So he came on against...
How's Fish spelled?
Fish. Yeah, he's English.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Fish. So he came on against Betis, I think it was. Scored an absolute worldie of a goal.
Did he?
Absolute worldie. Euro punted the ball up over his head on the volley, just off the bar into the back of the net. It was incredible.
Doesn't that look so cool when they go off the bar, man?
Absolutely.
Oh, man.
It was one of those, you know, you want to hit that in the park with your friends and just like,
Yeah,
you know,
dude.
look at me, I'm the man, you know. So, and to be doing that for Manchester United, you know, even if it was pre-season, you know, you still, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing.
So,
like,
yeah.
You know, like, I understand it's the whole preseason thing, but at the same time, it's like, it's still a game.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It's still, like, you're going up against real professionals, you know, or are gonna be professionals.
Yeah, and you still don't want to lose.
Yeah, of course not.
So,
you want to, you know, prove what you are, what you're about.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, you know, there's some good young talent coming up. And it's interesting because we've reached that point where there's so many good young players in the first team that it's hard to keep track of the academy because all of them are already like making it into the first team.
Which is awesome.
So,
I love that.
Yeah.
So more of that, please.
So absolutely,
you know?
100%.
I think that should be like a thing in every league where it's like mandatory to have at least a couple players that have to be in the squad from the youth academy. So that way, like, they put more effort and time into it.
Well, that's Manchester United. I don't know if it's true for all of the leagues, but at least for England, we hold the record for the longest amount of time having at least one academy player in our starting 11.
Is that what it is?
And it's stretching on for like 70 years.
Amazing.
It's been going on forever.
That's really good.
So, you know, that's how it should be. You know, that's how it,
Which
it
just
should
makes
be.
sense. Now that you said that, it makes sense why England always has such a... I personally feel like they always have such a strong, like, English squad. You guys always have, like, really good players.
Absolutely.
And that's got to be a reason why.
Well, and even if you look at the Euros team, like, some of the young players, like we've already mentioned Kobbie Mainoo, Cole Palmer, you know, and, I mean, Ollie Watkins isn't young, and Ivan Toney, but still, you know, all of these good youngish players. Eze from Crystal Palace, he's only like 21. So, you know, you've got all of these young up-and-coming players that were performing on the world stage.
Incredible, man.
So, yeah, I think this season in the Premier League, and I say this to my friends every season, but it's going to be a very tough season because, you've got...
I know what you mean by that.
So hard to pick.
Every season, dude. This is going to be
tough. Yeah. But it's like you've got City and Arsenal are going to battle it out, obviously.
Yeah.
United are only getting better. Liverpool, who knows what's going to happen with Liverpool?
Know what's going to happen, yeah.
Tottenham, who knows from one day to the next they show up and win 4-0 and then they show up and lose 5-0.
Such a weird club, right? Like they have great players and then
we've got Big Ange.
Yeah, I mean, I like Ange.
I love Postecoglou. He's so funny.
He's fucking hilarious. He doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
He's like your typical Australian guy. But anyways, keep going.
So you've got all of that. You've got Aston Villa, who are in the Champions League. And then as terrible as they are at the minute, you've still got Chelsea.
Yes.
And then you've still got the there or thereabouts like Fulham and Brighton. Everyone forgets about Brighton. Newcastle. Brighton. And even who knows what the newly promoted teams are going to do.
Yeah.
Like Ipswich, they've got back-to-back promotions. How are they going to fare in the Premier League, So who knows? It's a very interesting... Like, it would be very difficult for me to pick my top 4 right now because who knows?
Yeah, even even me being an Arsenal fan and seeing how great we did last season and all, it's always difficult with the Prem because there's always going to be as confident as I am with the squad that we have. Last season we at the end of the season we lost 2 games, or we tied a couple games, where you think because you have a strong squad you're gonna beat fucking Aston Villa or Fulham or something, and then you tie.
Yep.
So it's always it's so difficult to wrap your head around thinking whether or not you're gonna do good. So I hope that I honestly I know I'm an Arsenal fan, but I really want United to really come back and do its thing, man, because it's such an iconic club. One of the reasons why United's still so relevant is because of what they were.
Oh, absolutely.
And what Ferguson did, and it's if Ferguson was able to do what he did with that squad that he won the last 2 or 3 Premier League, it's you need to get your shit together.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? So stop spending all this money on those fucking players that are gonna just get injured, and just starts building a squad, man.
Well, it's to use Alex Ferguson as the perfect example. So there was a game, and I don't mean to bring this up because I know you're an Arsenal fan. That's not the reason I'm bringing it up. But
please do. I don't care.
So United beat Arsenal 8-2 at Old Trafford.
Yeah.
And we had...
What year was that?
That was the 2012-2013. That was on the road to his last title.
Wow.
And we had 7 defenders in that squad because the De Silva twins were playing as midfielders.
Uh-huh.
And then there was Ashley Young and Danny Welbeck up front with Wayne Rooney just floating about all over the place. And somehow we won 8-2.
That's crazy, dude.
Against an Arsenal side that wasn't the best.
But also
it wasn't the worst.
Yeah.
Because a couple of years later it became the worst with Manuel Almunia and Lord Bentner and and the likes.
Our one and only true God.
Jack Wilshere and Aaron Ramsey.
Yeah.
Just dark times for an Arsenal
Ramsey?
fan.
Where is he playing at?
I think he's in France or something now.
Because he was with Juventus, right?
And he was with Juventus.
And he left or something. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But yeah, man, that's... I love talking about the mentality side of things, right?
Yeah.
Of when it comes to football, just because it's you have so many examples that it's not just these fucking players that cost 100 million pounds or anything like that. It's literally about the manager and whether or not they understand what their players are able to do, and if they set them up for them to succeed.
Absolutely.
It's
100%.
Come on.
It's even during the era of the true Galacticos for Real Madrid.
Right.
So Roberto Carlos, David Beckham, R9, Ronaldo, during that period of time. Have you ever heard of Thomas Gravesen?
No.
So Swedish player, he came from Everton. And so Real Madrid picked him up and everyone was like, where did this come from? Who the hell is this guy? And why did you get him? Well, he came in and he's no-nonsense, hard-tackling midfielder, and he would just dive into tackles, just kill people.
Yeah.
But that's what Real Madrid needed.
Yeah.
Because they had enough of the flair. They had enough of the enough of the dribbling, enough of the whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They needed someone who was going to go in there and take no nonsense, take names, and just kill people.
To
Exactly.
Really,
They needed someone like a Roy Keane, or like who was just going to put people on the floor.
Yeah.
And we're like, no, this is the fucking Bernabeu. You don't disrespect us
No,
right
you're
now.
right.
And I think they got him for like, if not free, maybe like 2 or 3 million.
Incredible.
And that was the same time when they were spending like 30 million on David Beckham and like however much they were getting R9 for. And
R9 was like 80 mil, like almost 90, and that was like the biggest transfer fee of
at the time. Yeah, crazy transfers like that.
For an actual like good player, by the way.
Yeah.
Like we're not talking like some Anthony shit.
Yeah.
Or some fucking like all these players that are like going for this stupid amount of money, and you're like, what the fuck? Like, who are these guys? Like, it's just weird.
So, but Thomas Gravesen, like, if you go to Madrid now, he's still like a cult hero.
That's awesome.
Because of what he put towards the team.
Yeah.
And that just goes to show that even in a team of Galacticos, you can rise above.
You have to. You got to have those type of players, man, because like it's not, you can't just field like all these players that are just all attacking and that are going to cost all this much money. Like, I think there needs to be a lot more restriction on like, I mean, honestly, this isn't just my opinion. Obviously, like there has to be a lot more restriction on how much money everybody can spend, just because it will make the teams, it will make the managers more creative. Yeah, you have absolutely. To be, you can't just like, and also it won't let them rely on like, oh, I need this transfer. Yeah, like
absolutely.
Oh, like, my team isn't performing because I don't have the player to play in this thing that it works for my system. It's like, no.
Well, it's like if I was a board of directors, so say, for example, in Ten Hag's second season, and he came to me and said, I need these transfers because the team isn't playing well. And it's like, well, what about the transfers that you brought in last season?
Right.
You brought in 4 or 5 players. Why do you need another 7 players?
Yeah, it's like that's half a squad.
Yeah. So I think it would definitely change the amount of money, but I think it would also, like you said, it would get back the mental side, where it's like, I don't have to just field a team of great players and everyone calls me a great manager and I'm just going to go home and, reap the benefits.
Not everybody's
I actually have to, exactly. Yeah. I have to actually, think about it. And how am I going to play a player like Thomas Gravesen, or, how am I going to put them into the team to make this happen, Yeah,
and obviously, those are our opinions about it. Like, there's so much depth and things that go into, like, manager and how they have to go about, rotating their squad and, like, tactics and all that stuff. But I really do think that the whole, like, transfer sagas of every transfer window, it's like, there's always excuses on like why they didn't do this or why they didn't do that, and I think that managers get overinflated about their potential or their ability to do things because of quote unquote transfers that they don't have or transfers that they need to get. Yeah, it's like, dude, just like you're telling me that Mourinho and Ferguson and like Arsene and like all these great managers. Yeah. Just like went into the club and were like, oh yeah, I need this player, I need this player, I need this player. Like I'm talking about when they first started, of course, right? And then they just made a great squad. No, it's like they used what they had and they had to be like crafty with their transfer window, with however budget that they had at the time.
Absolutely. Well, it's like Alex Ferguson is a perfect example. No disrespect to the other two, but when he came to Manchester United, it was the same decade when we'd been relegated.
Right.
So he still had some of those players to contend with. But what he did, rather than go out and buy, the best of the best, he turned to the academy. And that's where the class of 92 came from. Right. So you had the Neville brothers, you had David Beckham, Nicky Butt, Roy Keane, all of those sorts of players, Paul Scholes, came through the academy. And what did he bring in to be the catalyst? It's Eric Cantona.
Yeah.
And Eric Cantona pulled them kicking and screaming to winning a Premier League.
Yeah,
like because of his arrogance.
Eric is the best, man.
King Eric. If
you're still listening to this, I don't know how long we're talking about, but if you're listening to this and you haven't seen an Eric Cantona like cameo in a movie or a movie that he's in, dude, go watch it, because like he's a beast of a man, first of all, in almost all of his movies, and he has like this crazy deep ass voice now, and he looks like a fucking bear. And he's just like so cool. Like, you have to go watch one of the movies, man.
I'll do you one better. Have you ever heard of the film that was made not about him, But it's called Waiting for Eric.
No,
And
I don't think I've seen that.
it's about this guy in Manchester. He's a postman. And he starts hallucinating Eric Cantona. And Eric Cantona is giving him life advice.
What?
And Eric Cantona is playing himself as this hallucination.
So he's just like...
He just appears next to him, and like this guy is telling him all of his problems about like how his wife's cheating on him and like how his brother's addicted to drugs and like all of these things.
And Eric
Cantona's giving him life advice. It's actually a really sad film, but Eric Cantona's bits are hilarious.
Dude.
So
my God.
So,
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's called Waiting for Eric. And yeah.
Wait, when was this?
Like early 2000s.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So when I watched it, it was on Netflix, but this was about 5 or 6 years ago, so I don't know if it still was.
I know the ones that I'm talking about, they're all like French. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like
Yeah.
this, I'm talking about like those really weird like indie French movies where it's like the guy likes his mom or some shit. It's like
Yeah.
some weird like fucking like Greek setup, you know? It's like what is even going on? Like those type of movies that are like
That's typical Eric Cantona right there. That's typical Eric Cantona.
He's like all about the weird shit like that.
Yeah. So, but Eric Cantona is just, oh my God, he's so funny. The interview, like the infamous one where he karate kicked that fan in the crowd. Have you ever seen that?
Oh yeah, dude.
Have you seen the interview afterwards?
No, I haven't.
Where
seen
he's
the
like,
interview.
he's just been given a suspended sentence from prison. He's got like an 8-month ban from football.
Fuck.
And so he walks in, and the media is just like vultures waiting for him.
Mm-hmm.
So he sits down, takes a deep breath, and he says, "The seagulls follow the trawler only when they know fish will be thrown," and stands up and walks out. And the press are just like,
I know what you're talking about.
What?
Now that you said those words, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's like a really small clip. It's like literally
Yeah.
5 seconds long, and he
Yeah.
just walks away.
yeah.
What does that even? Did he even explain what the fuck that means?
No, he's never explained it, and everyone, because he's like, I just want to leave it to interpretation because it's funnier that way.
Is that like a maybe he like tried to translate that like a French saying into like English, and it just sounds weird?
No,
is
it's
it
a
something he made
Cantona original.
Oh, okay. Because you know there was like those
Yeah.
sayings, you know, in different languages that you try to translate them and it just don't make any sense.
Yeah. No, this
Wow,
was a
dude.
this was a Cantona original. So, but yeah, he's a legend.
What a
bless him.
guy.
But yeah, definitely check out Waiting for Eric. I think you'd find it hilarious.
But going back to what we were talking about, like I feel like I feel like a lot of these managers are just giving too much money. And these fucking players are giving, dude, these fucking anyways.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know. That's just my opinion about these things. I just think it's just
No, and I
it's
agree.
frustrating.
I agree because
you know?
I'd rather, like, as a fan, if I had the opportunity to play for Manchester United,
Yeah.
I would give everything that I had. It wouldn't be a lot because I'm overweight, I'm asthmatic, and I'm in my mid-30s, so it's not going to be a lot. But for those 30 seconds, you'd better believe
gonna
I'd be
fucking go,
dying for
dude,
that
yeah.
badge. And then you've got players, and I know Anthony is the scapegoat, but he is the perfect scapegoat.
Right.
Where, like, he's just spinning around and falling on the floor and, like,
Acting
put
a
some
fool.
effort into the team.
Acting
Like,
a fool, yeah.
stop being so bloody all over the place. Put
Yeah.
some heart into it. Because if your team goes out and they put in 150% effort and they lose, at least they put in the effort.
I
Like,
agree.
I'd rather see them fight on the field, put their heart and soul into it, and lose
Yeah.
than score a goal in the first minute, play around the back, and be boring.
Yeah, I understand what you're
Like-
saying. Like, for example, today I was watching. I was trying to watch the fenerbahce game. That's why I asked you earlier. I was like, "Hey, what do you used to?" I was like willing to pay for it anyways. They played great. Like the first leg they lost 2-1 to Lille.
Yep.
And then this was the second leg, and it just sucks, right? Like you have like I think there was 3 or 4 chances that they either hit the crossbar or the keeper did like some crazy shit, you know, like that. You're like that any other day,
It would be in the back of the net.
another millisecond that would have been a goal. Another second,
Yeah.
you know, it would have been a goal every other day,
Yeah.
but not today.
Outrageous saves, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like it's just one of those days where like nothing is going your way, but they played their fucking hearts out, man.
Yeah.
And it was like it sucks now they're not in the Champions League, which is, you know, unfortunate. But at least they put on a performance, you know, and it's you can show and you can tell. And the thing that just as a little side note, the thing that is frustrating for me too is that you go online, right, and then you'll see like the press conference or you'll see like the game, like like the or like the highlights, and then some of the most liked comments are gonna be like, "Oh, Mourinho's a fraud," or like, "Oh, this club sucks," like, "Oh, they couldn't beat a French team."
Yeah.
You know,
who even
like,
is this team?
Yeah, and it's like, dude, like the margins of football are so slim. Like every player is almost on the same level because these are professional players.
Yeah,
and the only differences that they have really are just like millisecond decisions on like all aspects of those decisions: defending, attacking, you know, passing, dribbling, finishing. Like these are like athletes that are top notch, no matter in what league you're in.
Absolutely.
And it's just like it doesn't, you know, it's like it can't always go your way unless you're a fucking robot like Pep and you try to minimize those mistakes. It's like it's difficult to really quantify what it's like to be a top manager, let alone a manager who's expected to, you know, win every game.
Well, and that's bringing up Pep is interesting because if you look at Pep, so he's done it with Barcelona, Bayern Munich, and City. Mm-hmm. If you look at Jose Mourinho, Porto, Chelsea, Inter Milan, he was at Real Madrid.
He won at Madrid too.
Roma,
yeah.
You know,
he won the Europa.
The only team he didn't win with was Spurs, because of course he didn't, because it's fucking Spurs, and Daniel Levy is a lunatic. Like, although it's funny, have you ever heard what Mourinho said was his hardest accomplishment to achieve?
Yes, the Manchester United
finishing second with Manchester United, which I don't know whether I should be proud of that or not, because that's kind of devastating. You know, not taking Porto to the Champions League.
I love the fact that but we know what he meant.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
I know. I didn't think about that, but we know what he meant. But I think that like it's important to also acknowledge the fact that like. Jose brought that mentality that Ferguson had with those players because he didn't have the strongest squad.
Yeah,
he had maybe one or two stars players that were like you know, guaranteed like they're gonna do some shit. Yeah, and everything else was kind of like
cobbled together.
Literally, dude, like just trying to figure out how to string these fucking players to make a cohesive squad. You know,
but he gave them that mentality of like, it doesn't matter who's in front of us.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter that we're playing at Old Trafford. We're going to go out there and we're going to beat them.
Exactly, man. And like Pep has that. That's why a lot of players, like, you know, they talk about how like Pep has like that, like he's almost like emotionless. You know, like a lot of players will say like he has like this weird like almost like he's like detached from them. Mm-hmm. And I understand that because, you know, I'm a business owner and sometimes you do have to be like that to get your point across.
Yeah.
You know, you have to really be somebody who's going to be able to not be emotional about like whether a player's going to perform or not, because I can only imagine what it's like, dude, to like manage a squad of 25 or whatever.
Egos.
And, like, the egos, and then let alone the expectations, and then you have to be the one who's going to tell them like, hey, you're not good enough, or like, hey, you did a great job.
Hey, Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva's actually playing today.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, you know, like I understand why he is like that. You know, I'm not saying like I know him or anything like that, but I just mean like I understand in the aspect of like,
from
why
a business
you kind of have
perspective,
to basically just be like that kind of personality of just like do what you need to do, and if you're not doing what you need to do, you have to be cutthroat, basically. Yeah, you know,
absolutely. Yeah, and I think that was something that Mourinho was very good at wherever he went. Yeah, was the attention was on him. Like even at Spurs, how often did you hear, you know, any of the Spurs players taking flack? Never.
No, that's his quality.
All about Mourinho.
Yeah,
it's all about Mourinho. He's the special one. He's the
absolutely.
Know, and even at Manchester United, you know, we were talking about the interview where, you know, I've got 3 more titles than everyone else. Respect.
Yeah, and you know, this was like wasn't that the time the year that he got sacked when he was saying stuff like that too, right? Like
I think that was like 2 months before he got sacked.
Yeah, like he was still putting like all these mistakes and the team behind him.
Yeah,
no matter what, he's like, you know, and I think that's one of the greatest qualities of him, where it's like he protects his players. He like dies for his players.
He's the general.
Yeah,
he's the one that is commanding the the
Absolutely.
army.
And sometimes he does like say some, shitty things about like the squad or whatever. But the majority of the time, he's the one who's like taking all the blame, taking all the heat, taking all the everything about him.
I'm the one that put up the lineup. I'm the one that put in the tactics.
He takes the responsibility.
So yeah, it's interesting him going to Turkey, and I actually have a lot of respect for him for doing that, because I can't imagine Guardiola finishing his career in Turkey, I've got to say.
No.
And so, because that's the thing, I am not Guardiola's biggest fan, and it's not just because of City. I haven't liked him since Barcelona.
What don't you like about him?
This is going to be a very hot take.
No, please tell me.
I don't think he deserves as much praise as he gets.
Yeah.
Because he went to Barcelona, it's pretty much ready-made. He went to Bayern Munich, again, pretty much ready-made, and he couldn't win the Champions League. Right. Not to say that it was easy, but all the pieces were, like, the puzzle was almost finished. He just had to put in a couple of puzzle pieces.
Yeah.
And, that was the time when they brought in Lewandowski to make the team even better, and he couldn't do it. And then he went to City, and City was nowhere near a finished product, so you've got to respect what he has done with them. But if I was given a blank check, I could make Manchester City, world beaters. Yeah. I'm not saying it's all about the money, because he has obviously brought in, like you said, there's been a balance of, superstars and, rotational players. I just don't think he deserves as many plaudits as he does. And I think it's hugely disrespectful that his name gets brought up with the likes of Alex Ferguson, Jose Mourinho, and Arsene Wenger, because I don't think he's anywhere near on their level, personally. Because he couldn't have done it at Aberdeen. He couldn't have done it at Porto. And I honestly don't think he could have done it at Arsenal in the late 90s and early 2000s. Right. And that's the difference for me, is you could have taken Alex Ferguson and put him in that Barcelona squad, and Messi would still be Messi.
Right.
And they would still have won the Champions League. You could have put Arsene Wenger in that Bayern Munich squad, and they would probably have been even better than they were. You could put Mourinho in any fucking country, and he's going to perform in some way. Yeah. And so that's the pill that is so hard to swallow for me with Guardiola is it's temporary. It's not permanent class, in my opinion. And I think the Bayern Munich experiment was a perfect example of that, because it was a failed experiment.
Right.
In my opinion, of course.
That's really interesting. I actually never thought about that. Yeah, that's a very good thing that you bring up, because, I mean, when Guardiola was at Barca, like, how many players did he bring in the first season? Like, I think he brought in like one or two players, and the rest of them were just already there, and it's from the academy.
Yeah, he inherited it from, I think it was Ruud Gullit was the manager before him.
I think so, yeah.
And
then when and then he was there for what, 4 seasons?
He was there from, I want to say 2007 to like 2012.
So
maybe a little bit after that, because he wasn't there for when Bayern Munich won the Champions League. And that was 2013. Yeah. So maybe it was the season after that Champions League, because I think that was when Jupp Heynckes retired. So like about 5
seasons then.
About 5 seasons, yeah.
So 5 seasons, but like the main squad that he had was already there.
Yeah,
basically.
And the other thing, not to say that La Liga's easy, but La Liga's fucking easy. Right. Like all you have to do is make sure that you're better than these teams. Like, I mean, Valencia was good back then, but like Getafe and Espanyol and like, not the likes of like Newcastle and like Brighton, or even in Serie A, Fiorentina, Napoli, and teams like that.
I mean, dude, all you have to do is just look at like how much money each team brings in.
Exactly,
like
100%.
The amount of money that like Atletico Madrid, Barca bring in compared to everybody else is like insane.
Absolutely, and they pretty much run that league. Yeah, like whenever there's a decision to be made, they make it. It has nothing to do with anyone else.
No, I mean, I'm sure there's probably another one. I don't know what the other team would be.
It's mostly those three. Because every now and again you'll get a big team. You could make an argument for Valencia historically.
Valencia, yeah, that's true.
But
they've always had really good players. Yeah. Incredible players throughout many decades now. Actually,
like you mentioned earlier, David Villa. From back in the day.
And I think wasn't Silva from Valencia?
I think so. Yeah, actually, yeah.
Right.
Something like that. Yeah.
But Yeah, that is that's a really good point, man. I never thought about that. I'm a fan of Pep, not because of his achievements, but because of his tactical like awareness
That's
and
fair.
stuff like that. But so basically, what you're saying is that he hasn't really built anything. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm
Like, he
saying.
hasn't
Yeah,
like grown a club to like Jose did at Porto or
or at Chelsea.
or at Chelsea.
Yeah,
right.
Or like Alex Ferguson did with Manchester United, or what the impact that Arsene Wenger had, not just on Arsenal but on football in general. And so I think even with City, like I said, he's done a lot for City, but when he got there, Mancini had already won the league.
Yeah.
And was consistently in the Champions League.
And it had a great squad.
Yeah, Pellegrini had he won a league?
Yeah.
I think even Pellegrini had won a league.
Yeah, he had won a league with
And
Aguero's, right? Like last minute goal.
that was still Mancini.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, Pellegrini was between.
You're right.
So I'm
confusing them.
pretty sure.
Their names are way too close.
But Mauricio Pellegrini and Roberto Mancini. Yeah. I'm pretty sure Pellegrini won one, but I could be wrong.
I don't remember.
Yeah, because that was when United was terrible and Liverpool were terrible and Arsenal were terrible. So it was basically just them and Chelsea. Yeah, that's... he takes everyone else's pieces and, he does great things with them.
Yeah.
But
And also, like, I mean, he went to a team that had, like, billions and billions of monies to fucking spend. Like,
if you're owned by the fourth richest man in the world, come on. Like...
Yeah, man, that's true. But man, that's a difficult thing to quantify, because it's like, put any other manager besides the top like 10 managers that we know of in those squads that like Pep was in, would they have done such a good job?
It's true. It's true.
I mean, I think he is a great manager, and I do think that he is somebody who is impactful in terms of like bringing that tiki-taka style into like the like world, like awareness as to how to play that type of style. But then again, that's Dutch.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like
it's total football.
Yeah, that's not even like a Pep original thing. So
exactly.
I don't know. Yeah, that's now you've made me like question about
but giving you an existential crisis.
I'm, like, thinking, like, is Pep good?
Yeah, I look at it this way, and this pains me to say it, but I would say that Jurgen Klopp had a bigger impact than Guardiola.
Yes,
Jurgen Klopp at both Dortmund and at Liverpool had a bigger impact than Guardiola.
Yeah,
personally.
I mean, I feel like Liverpool's like overall like kind of an emotional club.
Yeah,
as it
very
is.
much so. Liverpudlians in general are very emotional people. But
you know what it is? I think it's that you can't compare them, right? Because they're in different spots. It's like Pep is one thing, but then Jose, Arsene, and Ferguson are like on its own. Yeah, they're like their own like legendary status.
100%.
But Pep is like a different type of legendary status.
Agreed. Agreed. I think he deserves respect in his own way.
Yeah.
For the things that he was able to implement.
He's had it easy though.
Yeah,
right.
100%.
What other manager has a Messi in their team?
When you just look at it, he went straight from being a player to a coach. He wasn't first team coach.
Right.
I think he started in the academy, but he literally fast tracked what everyone else had to do.
Yeah, he coached in Mexico for a while too. I think, didn't he?
Did he?
Oh no, he played. He played in Mexico.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah. He played in Mexico, and then he coached the B team. Yeah, that's what it was.
So he literally went. I think he coached to like finish his licenses, and then went back to La Masia or La Masia or however their academy is pronounced, and became a coach there.
Yeah.
And then when Hullet was unceremoniously sacked, they were like, "Hey, the guy who was our CDM for 20 years, do you want to be the manager now?" And the rest is history.
Do you mind if we take a break real quick?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I want to keep talking, but